All right. So as promised, here is my contact information. I am Alex Warner. I am the existing industry project manager for the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce. If you would like to send me an email asking a specific question, please do. My email address is listed below. Or if you'd like to call, feel free to do it. We've got a lot of small businesses in Forsyth County, and so my phone is ringing. So if you leave me a message, I promise I will get back to you. But if you shoot me an email, it's a little easier to answer those in order. So, but whatever works best for you, please feel free to reach out. I am here to help. I do want to put a disclosure out there that all of the information in this presentation is changing minute by minute. So if we go over something, the SBA has changed the form for the economic injury disaster loan now 3 different times, and they've changed the way that we input the information into their system 4 different times. So this information could change, and the Forsyth County Chamber is, we're just here to give you guys advice as we know it as of right now. So please keep that in mind as we go through this presentation. If you did sign up for this presentation and something does change, I will be adding you to a distribution list to keep you updated on the newest information. But even speaking with the banks, we're going to go through the Payroll Protection Plan loan towards the middle of this presentation, and the application is constantly changing for that, as well as the requirements for that loan. So just bear in mind we're working as best we can to keep you with the most up-to-date information as it changes. All right. So the first thing that we're going to cover is the economic injury disaster loan. If you've been on some of the webinars that we have put on over the last 2 weeks, before the CARES Act was passed last Friday, this was the only opportunity out there for small businesses to get some relief during these crazy times. So with the CARES Act passing, there is now a grant associated with the economic injury disaster loan. And so I wanted to bring this back up so that way if you applied for the economic injury disaster loan through the SBA.gov website, there is now a completely new application out there, and this application is specific to the COVID-19. So there's a lot of different information, and a lot less is required of the business to fill out the application. And so we're going to go through the new application so that way you guys, if you haven't already because you thought it was too crazy, we're going to go through it so that way we can get as many small businesses to apply for this as possible. But especially now, since there's a $10,000 grant associated with it, that they will wire into your account within 3 business days. So that way you can get some immediate relief. If you are going to be planning on doing the payroll protection loan and you're not interested in the SBA loan, that's completely fine. But please at least consider taking advantage of the $10,000 grant, and I will go into how it's going to affect the payroll protection plan a little bit when we get to that portion of the presentation. And do you need to unlock your credit report for this? They will be needing to pull the business credit history, and depending on the loan amount, you will have to show personal financials. So Cindy, I would recommend, depending on which loan you're going to go to, that you will probably need to unlock your credit for it. Okay. So we're going to get into how to apply for the new economic injury disaster loan, and most importantly, what information you need to put in there for the grant. And again, if you already filled out the old Form 5 for the SBA economic injury disaster loan, and you did not get an email back from the SBA giving you an option to only apply for the grant, you will have to go back into the website and fill out this new application. It will not remove you from the queue from your original application, but as you guys know, depending on which presentation you participated in, we went from having a website that worked to having a website that completely did not work. Then they implemented a Dropbox option where you filled out all the forms, loaded them up into a Dropbox, and that ended up being a catastrophe and nothing was organized. And then they went into mail-in only applications. So this new form is completely easy. The website is updated and the server has not been crashing. So if you did not already get an application number and you did one of the Dropbox or mail-in options, they are suggesting that you go back in and fill out this new application, for one, to qualify for the grant, and then two, that your information may just be lost in a black hole. All right. So in order to so how we're going to fill out the economic injury disaster loan, you're going to go to the SBA.gov website, and you are going to click on the economic injury disaster loan and loan advance option. Okay. And like I said, we're going to go through the application. It is much easier than the Form 5 that the SBA was having you fill out. So just so you know, before you start the application, though, so we don't have a lot of people bogging down the website, this is going to be the application form. There's only two different options for it, and we're going to go over both of them, and then we're going to show you where you need to click in order to qualify for the grant. So just know that under business legal name, that is going to be your name, not the name of the business, and under trade name is where you're going to put the name of the business. You will need the EIN number. If it is a sole proprietorship, you will put your social security number there. Then you will choose the organization type, put in what type of business you are, and then whether or not you're a nonprofit and or a franchise. If you guys can see on the screen, there are some red asterisks. These are most important, and it will not let you move on through the application if you do not input this information. There are a couple of spots on the form that do not have a red asterisk. You do not have to put anything there, but if the loan officer does contact you, they may require some more information. All right, let's see. And then so what is going to be required? You're going to need 12 months of your gross revenues, and then you're also going to need the last 12 months of the cost of goods. This is completely separate depending on what type of business you are. The way I pre-filled out this application just so I could have it available for you as if I was a restaurant. So then, you know, cost of food and cost of operation, and then is what I use to calculate the cost of goods sold. But if you have a specific question, as we were helping a realtor fill this out yesterday, when he was paying commissions to his people, so he had the lump sum of money that came into the real estate firm, and then his cost of goods sold were the commissions that he paid out to his realtors, if that helps. All right. And then we're going to get to the next size, and it's just going to be a primary business address. For the economic injury disaster loan, you will have to be inside, or your business will have to have a physical address that is inside of an area deemed a disaster area. The entire state of Georgia has been deemed a disaster area, but we are having some questions from foreign-owned businesses on why they cannot qualify for this. It is because the physical address of the business needs to be within an area deemed a disaster area. All 50 states in the United States are able to fill out this application, but just be aware if it is a foreign-owned entity that you might have some issues when you're trying to fill out the application. And you will see on this screen there are multiple places for you to put different phone numbers. Please put as many different ways for them to contact you as possible. While the loan officer is going over your information, if they have a question, they will attempt to contact you in any way that you have put on the screen. If for some reason you do not put multiple ways and they can't get a hold of you, they're going to move on from your application, and they're expecting the majority of the 30 million small businesses across the United States are going to be attempting to apply for either this or the Payroll Protection Plan loan. So when they move on from your application, who knows the next time the loan officer is going to get it. So please put as many different ways for them to contact you as possible. And then this will be pretty much the end of the business or the business portion of the application. Like I said, it is a very simple loan application. Just put another email address, the date you established, and how long you have been the owner of the company, and then of course the number of employees and what type of business you are. Okay. So then on step 2, you will see in the top right there is a question on whether or not your business is owned by a business entity. So we're going to go over both of it. The first portion of this is if you click no for that. And so then you'll just put in your information as the owner of the company. And again, as many ways to contact you as possible. To what level ownership you are. For anybody with over 20% ownership of the company, you will have to have them fill out this owner information. And if it is a partnership, it has to add up to 100% of the partnership. Fill out this application. So keep that in mind before you get started in the application. Okay. You will then have to certify that you're a United States citizen and what your residential address is. If for some reason you get denied for the loan, they will mail you a reason for denial, and you will have up to 6 months to fix whatever issue they said you were denied for and submit a request for them to reevaluate your application. All right. And let's see. We've got a couple of questions come across, so let me see if we can answer these before we get on to the next portion of it. You put your corporation name under business legal name instead of your name. Okay. There should be a way for you to log back into the SBA.gov website, but if you have submitted it, it's a very simple problem, and as long as you have your proper name and information under the ownership information, the loan officer should just be able to call you with a simple fix. But if you cannot go through the SBA.gov website and change it since you have already submitted the application, I would not recommend that you call the SBA right now because they're being bombarded with websites with people being upset about the other applications that have not been working. But it's a very common issue. So if the loan officer has a question, they will reach out to you as long as you put ways for them to contact you. And for the 3 partners, whoever has filled out or whoever is filling out the application, put your legal name there, and then there will when it breaks down by owner, that their contact. But whoever's actually filling out the form for the business, have them put their legal name there. Okay. And for Shannon, if you own 50% and your husband also owns 50%, I know it's the same household, but yes, put both of your information in the form. And I believe I've answered all the questions. If I have not, please ask it again. We're gonna keep on the chat, but now we're gonna get to if you go back to this box at the top of the screen and you were to click yes that your business is owned by a business entity, we're going to go into how that would change, and all it changes is this amount of information. You will then need to put the legal name of the business entity that owns your business, their address, and the EIN number for that entity. Right? And that is all of the information that will be needed to be provided in this new form for the EIDL loan. You will then need to certify that you have not been convicted of any sort of crime. You're not indicted, waiting criminal charges or anything like that. And if anyone assisted you in filling out this loan application, put their contact information here so that way the SBA can have permission to contact them. As you guys see, we just went over the entire loan application. You should be able to fill it out by yourself as an entity and not pay somebody to do it. But if you did, or if you do feel like you need to pay somebody to fill out this application for you, please provide their information here so that the loan officer can call them for questions instead of calling you. Okay, and this is where we're going to get to the most important change as of the CARES Act on Friday. There is now a $10,000 grant associated with this economic injury disaster loan. And If you would like to qualify for the $10,000 grant, this is where you will check a box and you will enter your banking information. The business banking information, do not have it sent to a personal account. And and Julie, I see your question. I'm going to get to it in just a second. I just want to talk briefly about this $10,000 grant. A lot of people are calling because they're interested in the $10,000 grant, and they have also heard some positive things about 8 weeks forgiveness in the Payroll Protection Plan. I'm going to say this multiple times throughout the presentation. This grant will be qualified to the business and will be put into your bank account within the next 3 business days after you apply for the loan. The Payroll Protection Plan will give you 8 weeks forgiveness for payroll, but that will be going through the banks. The banks will not be starting applications until the earliest we've heard will be Friday. And then they're still expecting about a month before that money will be in your account. So what we're encouraging people to do is to go in and apply for the grant so they can have some immediate funds and some immediate relief. But just be aware, in the 8 weeks that will be forgiven for the payroll and the loan amount of the Payroll Protection Plan, this $10,000 will be subtracted from that forgivable amount. So you will be getting the exact same amount of money, you just will not be able to get this $10,000 twice. So just be aware of that if you are going to take advantage of both this economic injury disaster loan, the grant, and the Payroll Protection Plan. So Julie had a question about if you are not a U.S. citizen but you are a green card holder. Just be honest with the question. And Shannon, yes, the grant will be forgiven. But if you are not truly a U.S. citizen, you must click that you are not a U.S. citizen. It is not an automatic denial of the money, but you have to be honest. If you are a green card holder, they will contact you, just like filing for any other SBA loan. And Caleb, if you accidentally put a personal account, I don't know the answer to your question, to be honest with you. I don't know that with 30 million small businesses, they're going to recognize that you put it into a personal account. Just make sure that when you are filing taxes later this year, that your CPA can have that fixed for you, and to make sure that that everything is going to be good on your taxes. So just contact your CPA and make sure that he or she will be able to make it right when you're doing the business taxes at the end of the year. Okay. And so once you click whether or not you want to qualify for the grant, you will then certify that everything you put into the application is true, and then it'll give you a brief summary of everything that you've covered, and that is the entirety of the new economic injury disaster loan. Like I said, it is the most simple loan application, but if you do want to pay somebody to fill this out for you, make sure that you put their contact information. You will then certify that you're not a robot and click submit. So we're being told that the $10,000 grant will be into your bank account within 3 business days of you submitting this application. So if you need money early next week, I would recommend that you do this today. And just go to the SBA.gov website, and it is the very first thing on the screen saying you would like some more information about the COVID-19 pandemic, and then click on the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and Loan Advance option. Or you can go to togetherforfoco.com/business resources, and we have all of this information on that website as well. Okay, so now we're going to get briefly into, or not briefly, we're going to go over the Payroll Protection Plan loan. And this is going to be the information that will be required for you through the banks. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water. So this loan will not be going through the SBA website. This one will be going through your existing bank. They will be working with all banks that are FDIC insured. So I would recommend, if you have not already, that you call your bank to make sure that they're going to be participating in this loan program. If for some reason your bank will not be participating in the loan program, please reach out to me. I will be more than happy to refer you to a bank that is participating. But in talking to all of the banks so far, the banks will be working with their existing customers first. It is a lot easier to do loan applications when you already have a relationship with the customer. So that way all of the preliminary stuff of knowing your customer, they've already done all this background on you, so they don't have to start from square one. So they want to get as many people to fill out this application, and the bankers are going to be inundated with every small business in the county trying to apply. So they are going to be working with their existing customers first. In talking with Synovus earlier this morning, they've already had 5,000 people or 5,000 small businesses trying to get their foot in the door in order to qualify or to get this process started. So if you have not called your bank to get an appointment, please, if you're at least even interested in it, call your bank and see what they can do for you. The majority of banks that I have spoken with, they're going to make the loan application available to you online to have pre-filled out, and we're going to go over the loan application in just a second. This is a loan application as of yesterday, mid-afternoon. But as we know, with the economic injury disaster loan, they changed that loan application 3 times in a week, and then they changed the way that you're going to submit it multiple times. So this is the most up-to-date information that we have as of today. If it changes, again, you will be on a distribution list, and I will make sure that you are updated on the information. So in order to qualify for this loan, and the reason that I want to go over this, since it's not going through an SBA website, I want you to be as prepared as possible, so that way, as I just said, the banks are going to have every small business trying to apply for this loan. If you know what is required of you before you even start the process with the bank, so that way you're not wasting your time and you're not wasting the banker's time. So that way we can make it as easy as possible for all of our banks so that we can help every small business that needs some help out there. So you're going to need your 2019 tax return. If you have not filed your tax return, you're going to need a 2019 profit and loss statement and also a balance sheet. This loan, the majority of the money is going to be used to cover payroll cost. So they want a 12-month payroll record. They're willing to work with companies that had just started in 2019. So if you started in 2019 and you do not have 12 months of payroll records, they're willing to work with you. And even as much as if you started in late December and all you have is January and February, if you can do an average of the first 2 months of this year, they're willing to work with that as well. But just be prepared that you will need to show payroll records because the majority of this loan will go to cover payroll cost. You're also going to need organizational documents, and again, just very similar to the EIDL loan, all of the owner's information as well. And then a certification and document from the Secretary of State's office. So this loan will be available for up to $2 million, or 2 months of your average monthly payroll. So if you have a very massive payroll, whichever is lesser is the amount that the loan will cover. And it will payroll cost will include everything from salaries to benefits to vacation time. And if you want a copy of this presentation, please email me. I'll be more than happy to send this over to you. I know it's kind of blurry on my screen as well, so if you can't read it all, just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to get it all over to you. Okay. So we already covered where to apply, but the biggest benefit of this is that there will be an 8-week forgiveness period on the loan for the small businesses, and this is to cover payroll cost, mortgage interest, and rent. But 75% of the money in the forgiveness amount will have to go towards payroll. So you cannot do more than 25% of the forgiveness amount for non-payroll cost. So, and the loan payments for this will be deferred for 6 months. but just be aware that the interest will be accruing during those 6 months. So you don't have to make a payment, but the interest will still be working, and we'll go over that as that information has changed as of yesterday as well. So it says on the screen that you can start applying as of tomorrow. That is the earliest that we have heard from any of our banks that they are going to be accepting applications for this. But like I said, there's a lot of small businesses that are already trying to get their foot in the door. So if you have not contacted your bank already, I would recommend that you go ahead and get your foot in the door. And if your bank does not want to participate, let me know. I will get you a referral to somebody that is. And so the SBA will be working with all FDIC insured institutions. And so if your bank is FDIC insured, they should be qualifying for this information. Okay. So we're going to go over what you need in order to apply. But as we just discussed, you're going to need 2019 tax returns or a profit and loss sheet, and then you're going to need your payroll information as well. So the SBA is backing all of these loans, so you do not have to show in a normal SBA loan application that you have tried to seek funds somewhere else. This is a completely separate application than previous. So just be aware that this is completely different than trying to file with other SBA loans through your bank. You can only take out one loan in this program. And again, these loans are mainly used to cover payroll cost. You can use it to cover some of your other overheads, such as rent and utilities and stuff like that, but 75% of the loan must be used to cover payroll. If you have employees on your payroll that make over $100,000, $100,000 is the limit to count for that one employee. So anything over $100,000, leave that out of your monthly average. $100,000 is the cap per employee. So keep that in mind when you're calculating how much money you're going to need when you're doing your application. And again, the loan cap is at $2.5 million or 2.5 times your average monthly payroll, whichever is lesser. And how much of your loan will be forgiven? It will be 8 weeks of the loan amount. So this should cover 8 weeks of your average payroll, plus 25% extra to cover a little bit of your overhead. Now, the forgivable amount on this loan is subject to change depending on how much of your workforce you keep employed. You have until June 30th to hire back your workforce if you would like for them to qualify for the 8 weeks forgiveness. So just keep that in mind. If you had a payroll but you laid everybody off and you do not bring them back on, the forgivable amount of this loan will be drastically reduced. So just keep that in mind. And Brian asked a question regarding if the owner is taking a salary. Brian, you can use the funds to cover rent, but just be aware if it's not a payroll line item when you submit a request for forgiveness from the lender, and it caps at over 25% of the loan amount or for the forgiveness amount, anything over that 25% is not going to be forgiven. So just be careful in your calculations. If you need to, as an owner, take a salary portion and put it in the payroll instead of covering the overhead with it. But just keep it in that 75% of this money going to cover payroll cost. Okay, and like I said, you have until June 30th to restore your employment in order to have them qualify for this forgivable amount. And so how you're going to get the 8 weeks forgiveness is you will have to submit a letter to your lender, so whichever bank is doing the loan for you, and asking them and showing them that you use the money for what you were supposed to use it for, and that you and so as long as you have met all the requirements and 75% of it goes to the payroll, then the lender will give you the forgiveness amount. The interest rate of this has changed as of yesterday. It is now 0.5%. And the loan period is for 2 years. There is no prepayment penalty for this loan. So if you get approved for the loan and you get more than you need to cover your costs, hopefully when this epidemic or pandemic ends, yeah, you do not have to keep that money. You can throw it back into the loan. There's no prepayment penalty, so keep that in mind. And there is no collateral required for this loan as well. There is also no personal guarantee required for this loan. And let me see, to answer Phil's question about somebody having a baby. And Phil, it's asking if you, so I'm assuming this employee is going to be on FMLA. If they will be on FMLA and not taking a payroll hit, let me find you an answer specific to that. But if you do want to be safe, you can backfill the position with a new employee. But I don't want to give you a wrong answer regarding how it's going to affect your FMLA because their job should still be guaranteed with you. So if you don't mind, Phil, my email address is going to be at the back of this. If you could send me a question or an email regarding that, I will find you an answer to make sure that we can get you the right information. So the 25 and Kedar had a question regarding how the $10,000 grant will affect the 25% non-payroll. So yes, if you use that $10,000 grant to for anything besides payroll, that will be affected in the 25% cap. So keep that in mind. If you use the $10,000 to keep your people employed until the money rolls in for this payroll protection loan, then absolutely, you will be fine. But if you do use it to cover overhead, that will roll into that 25% cap. So just play with the money, but keep in mind what you are and are not allowed to use it for. Right. And this is just some legal jargon regarding the loan. Just let you know that these loans will be backed by the SBA. Okay. So now we're going to quickly go through the payroll protection loan. So that way, again, just very similar to the economic injury disaster loan, the more prepared you guys are and before you start the application process, if you have a banker that will be doing these in person instead of electronically, I believe the majority of banks are going to be doing them electronically, but if they don't have the option, I want you to be prepared before you're sitting down in that office so that you can have the information that will be needed so they don't have to send you back out to go talk to your CPA and then come back in and waste everyone's time. So we're going to go over the loan application. This loan application is as of yesterday. So if anything changes, we will make sure that you are included in that. Okay. And for Christina, yes, it is an average over the last 12 months for your employees. Okay. So you will need to click what type of business you are and put in your primary address, your EIN, and contact information. And then you will put in your average monthly payroll cost. This should be the 12-month average, but like I said, they are working with companies to anything as small as January, February of 2020. If you're a brand new business, you can use that to calculate your average monthly cost. And then you will do 2.5 times that to get your loan amount. And then put in the number of jobs that you will be using this money to pay for. And then put in what you are going to use to this money for: payroll, rent, mortgage, utilities, and but just be aware, 75% does need to cover payroll. And for Shannon, you the business owners will be filling out this information. The majority of banks that I have talked to, they're going to be sending it in an electronic version, and then you will submit it back to your banker. Then put in the ownership information and percent of the business that they own, and then certify the questions and whether or not you've received any other loan to help cover these costs, including the economic injury disaster loan. Okay. Do we have any questions on the first page of the loan application before we move on? And for Andrea, if you are an S corp, I would suggest that you reach out to your banker that does your loan applications and ask them what they would suggest, because they're gonna help walk you through the form. I don't want to give you the wrong answer, so I would ask your specific banker that handles your account what they would like for you to put there. Okay. Then you will just need certifications for anybody that is over 25% owner, and then a signature of whoever was filling out the forms, and signatures of the owner applicant as well. That is the entirety of the payroll protection loan as of right now. But as you can tell, it's a very simple process. The banks, they're being backed 100% by the SBA, so it should be a very easy regulatory process, and they're trying to get as many people approved for this as possible. But just keep in mind, the more prepared you are, the fact that you already have your 12-month payroll paperwork before you start the application, the fact that you already have your 2019 taxes or a 2019 profit and loss statement before you start the application, will help walk you through the process with your banker. Okay. And so, like I said, that is the entirety of the application form as of right now for the Payroll Protection Program. And I do want to, before I put my contact information and we go deeper into a question and answer portion, that this information is advice from the Forsyth County Chamber of Commerce. We have no liability if this information were to change, even during this presentation. So just keep that in mind. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay. Here again is my contact information, and I'm going to start jumping into more of the questions via the chat. Let's see, Caleb, you remained open and our sales cover the staff. There's no profit. So, Caleb, I'm assuming what you're asking is, can you close your restaurant, apply for this payroll protection plan, use the payroll protection plan to pay your employees, but not actually have the restaurant active? Is that what you're asking? Okay. So this money is to be, or is supposed to be used for the main portion of it to keep, for one, keep businesses afloat, and two, to keep people off of unemployment and keep them with a job. As a restaurant, I'm assuming your employees they depend mostly on tips, so I don't want to give you a wrong answer, but if you can use the loan and in the 25% allowance, keep the restaurant alive, so that way they can get a little bit of business and a little bit of tips. But technically, yes, you can, but It's completely up to the business owner at that point, um, what you would use it for. All right, let's get to Shannon's question. You have filled out a request form to our bank. So yes, Shannon, if you have already requested information about this loan through your bank, the next step is the bank will send out whichever application is up to date that they will be using. Multiple banks have sent me the application we just went over as of yesterday, and they will have you pre-fill out the application and submit it into them. So yes, just wait on the bank. Like I said, Synovus has over 5,000 people requesting uh, the information or to be starting the loan process. So depending on who you bank with, it could be a couple of days. And for Ann, you had a doctor that was on the payroll last year, but has become a partner. Let's see. If they are no longer if they're no longer on your payroll sheet, it I would recommend that you it's a it's a tough question because you're probably not going to be divvying up the money, but yes, if they're no longer on the payroll as of February 15th, I would keep them out of the calculation. Okay. Do we have any more questions before, um, or if you would like me to go back to any particular portion of the presentation, please let me know. Okay. And like I said, if you have a specific question and you do not want to ask it in the chat, that is not a problem. Please reach out to me via email or call and leave me a message. I'll be more than happy to walk you through anything that I'm able to help you with. Let's see. And Christina just asked a question. Yes, so if you have already laid off all of your employees, you have until June 30th to bring them back onto the payroll um, in order to qualify for the forgiveness portion of the payroll protection loan. So keep that in mind. Um, and Debbie, when did you submit the EIDL loan application? If you did it yesterday, after you submitted, you should have gotten a confirmation number. Okay. Then for your specific request, I would recommend if you got a number, then your loan application is good. There are you probably will not get a confirmation email until the loan officer is looking at your application. But for Christina, to get back to your question, you have until June 30th to bring back your employees. If you qualify or if you do the $10,000 grant, you can bring them on sooner and use that $10,000 to cover the payroll costs until you get approved for this loan. You can always do that as well. And yes, Deanna, that is exactly what this money should be used for. To bring everyone back to the amount of hours and salary that they were making before this crisis. So yes, absolutely. Okay. Do we have any more questions? All right. If we do not have any more questions, I want to take this time to thank everyone for participating in this call. Like I said, you will now be in a distribution list, so when we get any updates, you will be the first to know. I would reiterate, the sooner that you could submit either one of these applications, the better for your business. And the application period for the Payroll Protection Plan also ends on June 30th. So if you're hesitant on it, if you wait too long, these funds and the forgiveness period will no longer be available to you. So um, just keep that in mind. And yes, and you can use the EIDL loan to cover rent as well. Uh, the EIDL, the money with the economic injury disaster loan, um, it is a little less stringent upon payroll. So where the payroll protection loan is used, 75% has to be used to cover payroll. The economic injury disaster loan can be used to cover the overhead and payroll as well. And yes, also for utilities. I have a conversation out there right now because a business asked it on whether or not internet and telephone qualify as a utility. Until I hear otherwise, having internet's pretty essential part of business, especially right now. But if I do hear that internet and telephone do not qualify, I will let you guys know in a distribution letter. Okay. And Cindy is asking that transportation is also included. Can you be go into a little more detail about what you're asking, Cindy? Let's see. Oh, okay. I will get you a more specific what transportation is. Um, but yeah, I don't know the specifics for the transportation at this time. But I will find out and let you know. And so, Anne, for your question on whether or not you can use the EIDL for payments to physicians, can you send me an email specifically asking in that question so that way I can go into more detail and get you an exact answer. Your business is a little bit different than the average person applying for this loan, so I want to make sure that we get you the correct information on that. Okay. Do we have any more questions before we end this discussion? And feel free to ask. Um, there's no shame, but if you, I just want to make sure that we can get you guys as much up to date information as possible. And if you have a really simple question, don't let it stay in your head. Please ask it. You're probably not the only one. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and end this call. Thank you guys for participating. If you have any questions or you would like for me to send you any of this presentation, please reach out to me. All of it is fully available to you. I don't have any copyright on it, but just keep in mind that if it changes, I will get you as much up to date. As soon as I know something, you will know something. So uh, you will be on a distribution list, and thank you guys for participating. We're going to stay strong in this together, and hopefully I'll come and see every single one of you guys once we're allowed to actually go places again. So thank you all, and I'll see you all shortly. Thank you.